All right, are we recording? We are. Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily astrology report for the last day of 2020. According to our Gregorian calendar, this is the astrology for December 31st, 2020. Don't let that door hit you in the ass on the way out. Am I right? Oh, wow. You know, it doesn't even seem that long ago that I was focusing on the great conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn that happened at very early January. So this time last year, that was all the buzz. It was about the great conjunction. And boy, did we have that conjunction. It was the beginning of the end. Saturn and Pluto coming together in Capricorn, the destruction being formalized and crystallized. And, you know, two different trajectories have emerged now with the Great Awakening versus the Great Reset. And both were kicked off with that conjunction, I assure you. So where we find ourselves now really has a lot to do with how this whole year unfolded for us. So we're going to be looking just at today on the 31st, on the last day of 2020. What do we have in store for us? You know, I've kind of spent some time today, especially just now, trying to gather my thoughts and how I want to report this, because there's certain things today that, as much as I want to, I'm trying to find a way to spin them, and I just can't. I just cannot spin them in a way that puts some, I don't want to say doesn't put a positive light on it, because every aspect has the potential to be positive and for our highest growth and potential. But I'm having a difficult time, you know, finding the fluffy aspect of some of these transits today, despite the maybe generic read of some of these connections. There's a potential that these things can be read from a very generic position to mean something, or to be interpreted in a way that is less it's just, I'm just going to give it to you raw and real. How about that? And this is just my interpretation. Of course, this is just my forecasting. Just like any astrologer is an individual, unique person with their own filters and perceptions that is reading this language and interpreting it based on our own filters. So I'm just going to give you what has come through, despite me trying to find a way to spin it. I have been getting very clear messages about some of these transits that are happening right now, and how on the surface they may seem like they might be beneficial, but really when you look a little bit deeper, you can see that they could really work against us if we're not aware of them. So we are having the moon in her home side of Cancer today. That's going to be moving into Leo, and the pride energy is going to swell. That Leo solar fire, the passion and the lust that Leo represents, the pride, the sovereign nature, you know, the lion. Leo is the lion. And with the moon here, we're going to really be feeling it. And it's very much about individual expression. Everything since the moon has been in Aries, we've all been having a very emotional and personal experience in these signs that have to do with the individual consciousness coming forward, and the individual experience of the personality developing. Cancer is definitely where a lot of the character and personality starts to develop in Cancer. This is where we emotionally stabilize ourselves, and we're able to really deepen our personality, integrate our personality as a result of the armor and protection that we get from our familial bonds and our identity and where we belong, and the armor and the protection that those identities afford us. You know, the Cancer and the fourth house is home and family, land of origin, national identity, familial identity, tribal identity. It's where we belong and where our loyalty lies. And it's really consolidating our personal power. And so by the end of this transit, The moon will move into Leo about 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So by the end of this transit, we will have consolidated a lot of our personal power solely based on where we planted that flag at 0 degrees Cancer. So depending on what decision you've made, who you and what you've aligned yourself with, where you find your most stabilizing point is really going to impact how and in what way you are personally, we are each personally expressing ourselves fully when the moon comes into Leo. So again, it really depends on our own individual, unique free will in all of these transits to, make an impact on how they manifest. This is why it's really hard for me, at least, to do kind of generic horoscopes because everybody's chart is so different and it's a unique fingerprint. And so I can read these general transits in terms of all of us together, but it really depends on each and every one of us and how we are interacting with the energy and our own decisions, our own behaviors and actions, and how that impacts everything. And nothing is separate from anything else. It all is impacting everything else all the time, even if we don't see it visually or even in a tactile sense. It's still impacting the field, right? That morphogenetic field that surrounds pretty much everything. So before the moon leaves Cancer today, she's going to be in opposition to Pluto, and then will square Mars in Aries. So this opposition to Pluto, of course, Pluto being this destroyer, really just pulling away and destroying all of the reliance that we've had on tradition and all of the cultural, beautiful, artistic refinement that has happened over time that gives us a sense of um, belonging to something bigger than ourselves and an actual representation of what we can accomplish when we all come together and create something. And art and culture and literature and theater and all of these aspects are able to develop when all of the other things in a civilization or community are taken care of. And so when you get to this point and later in Capricorn, you start to see the the fruits of that, right? That there is refinement and artistic expression and beautiful things that are made that we can enjoy as a result of all of the work that's gone into our collective group process of building these institutions in Capricorn. So, and we have the sun, and we have Mercury there. So, of course, our expression and our mental capacity is also focused on these goals and building something substantial. Now, with Pluto taking that all away, having this opposition to the moon in Cancer in her home sign is really anchoring us in a way to the power structure that we are consolidating for ourselves, rather than to get caught up in the destructive path of destruction that is Pluto, even though it is there to initiate transformation as a result of the death and rebirth process. It is still a path of destruction, and it still has an impact. And so this opposition from the moon really drawing our own personal stabilized emotional connections that form and that stabilization, it really pulls us out of the path of destruction so that we can, at the very least, um, have a sense of spiritual strength in this moment, right? If we are true to ourselves, if we are integrating our personality through willful endeavors, right? If we are true to ourselves, really, and we have consolidated personal power based on where we have aligned ourselves, then we will have these spiritual forces, this endowment, this grace that comes in the face of this path of destruction, which is inevitable and is a necessary part of what's going on. So finding the fulcrum here, this balance point, is really the best thing that we can do for ourselves today, because we don't want to get totally pulled in to and expecting, some sort of spiritual force to come in and save the day. We don't want to expect that. We don't want to even like anticipate or embody that completely. We still have to hold space for what is, in fact, in within the path of destruction. We have to acknowledge that and not shy away from that, or not, we can't just like ignore that or avoid that or just stay in our little bubble over here in the moon in Cancer and be like, oh, I'm totally insulated. I'm totally protected. I have all these spiritual forces around me that are um, endowing me with this strength. And we do, absolutely. But we can't be so insulated that we don't see what's happening outside of us. So this opposition is going to allow this to happen. Besides that, then you have the moon squaring Mars in Aries at right after. And even though there is this energy of like this rebirth now, as Mars, or as the moon gets closer and closer to the end of Cancer, an inner rebirth through a total acceptance of what primordial values, natural functions, committing to the return of nature, right? This is really, again, this consolidation of our personal power, of really feeling, everything that there is to feel, and feelings, and being strong in our bonds, and strong in who we are emotionally, having confidence and self-esteem, and connect and committing to returning to nature, because we are confident and we feel what that feels like. Well, that's going to be really important because Mars has to face the mob now, right? Mars is having to face a really angry audience that is really pissed off that if Mars can't deliver, and and Mars being the masculine part of us, the action warrior, right? The action hero, does not really want to face the angry mob necessarily, and has to figure out, well, what am I going to do from now? What responsibility do I have to everybody that is relying on this action hero to do something about it? I think that I think that we are going to want to act on this in order to satisfy and fix this problem, whatever it is. And you'll see this like manifesting out in the world stage. But in terms of a personal experience, we do need to. We're going to go through this inner rebirth process. And again, we're going to draw this power in. And the square here is going to be to that part of us that wants to act on something, that wants to fix a situation, that wants to take responsibility for maybe something that we weren't quite able to fulfill because we had too much. Remember, we talked about this a couple of days ago. If we had to strip everything down to its essential components so that we did not drop all of the potential that Mars had been accumulating, this divine masculine aspect of us, this potential and this desire and this will to be. There's a lot of potential to hold, and we didn't want to drop it, which is why we had to strip away all the extraneous ideas and thought forms, and get to the very basics in our mind so that we could hold on to all of this potential. Now Mars has to, that part of us, Mars, that divine masculine, that action hero part of us has to deal with the reality of not being able to deliver, and the disappointment that elicits in a group that was promised something. And so we do have to each individually make sure that our power is so completely consolidated that we can face that disappointment, um, even within ourselves, right? Those two aspects of ourselves, the moon being the feminine aspect of ourselves and Mars being the action hero. We need to be able to feel strong enough and secure enough in ourselves to face the disappointment, of of those who expected more from us. And even if this is all happening within ourselves, that's still just as important. This time, if the moon in Cancer, has been so essential to really consolidating that personal power, because the temptation here with Venus, as we see, meeting the South Node today, and I'm going to talk specifically about this because this is the aspect that I have been trying to make sense of and can't really find a positive way to spin this. And so I'm just going to come right out and say what I think is going on. But what I'm saying is that once we move into Leo, the moon moves into Leo, the feeling of this rebirth, this passion that starts swelling up, and this lust for life and wanting to express ourselves is going to become very strong. And the moon is going to meet Chiron later on the 31st in a trine, and that is going to be, we're going to really be confronting the concept of the relativity of social values and how much they have an impact on us, even though that they're um, relative and impermanent. They still have an impression upon us, and we're going to face that very directly. And this is going to, oh man, it's going to be kind of explosive, right? Because Chiron is also in Aries moving forward. So this moon in Leo, that's going to be very expressive and very prideful and very much about expressing our individual self in its fullness, is going to be very connected to Chiron in this fire trine. There's going to be a lot of activation here when it comes to identifying with our victimhood, and maybe even being able to transcend it to a certain extent, when we realize how much cultural values have impacted this sense of identity that we've had. This is going to really open us up to something, and we're going to want to act on it. Maybe there may even be anger, right? There may be even just kind of like, what I didn't realize. We have to transcend our subservience to the morals that are imposed upon us. And this is where the moon is going to trining in a trine to Chiron is going to bring to our attention. And if anything, this will really allow us to identify that victim identity and maybe see parts of it that were imposed upon us rather than something that has developed from within. So very enlightening, and very potentially explosive. Now, the moon also is going to, in early Leo, is going to oppose Saturn and Jupiter. So again, these large transpersonal planets in early Aquarius, having to do with the collective in and of itself, and the energy that moves through a collective situation, and the love that binds us together. But it's about the intellect with Aquarius, and the ability to use our intellect to see and to feel the cohesion among everyone. And it is about the collective. It's not about the individual with Aquarius necessarily. The individual is nothing more than a node as part of the collective. While with the moon, which is very individual and very personal, and is about how we feel being in Leo, opposing this, we're not really going to give it, this is really going to challenge those large patterns in Aquarius that are taking us into the future, into the next phase, that has to do with the collective and what binds the collective. And we are not going there. We're going to be much more interested in our own personal experience and expressing it. And again, you have to find the balance point. You don't want to be so focused on the individual experience that you can't see the full picture that is unfolding. And you can't, Saturn, especially in Aquarius, is really hard to get around. Okay, especially because Saturn used to be the ruling planet of Aquarius before Uranus was discovered. So there's a lot of power and there's a lot of structure and form here. And there is specifically a lot of of a reality check about everything that's seemingly permanent can be taken away by nature just as easily. So, despite how we feel, how we want to express ourselves, this is going to be in direct opposition to kind of the reality check about, like, well, it doesn't matter how we each individually feel necessarily, or how we express ourselves, when it comes to the fact that there is major, how do I say this? Major, I don't want to say disaster, but that is 2 degrees Aquarius, the unexpected storm. And what we have developed can just as easily be swept away by nature. And um, we have to acknowledge that. And with Saturn there, that makes it impossible not to acknowledge. It is being very structured and formalized and crystallized, to the point where it's unavoidable. And so this moon in Leo, we're going to be really feeling it on New Year's Eve. We're really, that patriot pride is really going to swell within each of us very personally, on New Year's Eve, and will really challenge these larger cycles about, the Aquarian age unfolding, because we are only going to be thinking about ourselves. That's the thing about Leo. It's the center, the sun is the center of our solar system. And in Leo, we are the center of our universe. And we're really going to each feel like the center of our universe in this moment. So when it comes to that, though, like, here's Venus. Venus, Venus is the goddess of love, right? About what's beautiful and harmonious. She's very sensitive. She is very attractive and charismatic. She attracts to her all that she needs. It is the Empress, right? The Mother Earth energy. But there's a dark side to Venus. She's obsessive and possessive, right? Because it's not love in the sense of universal love like Pisces is. It's love in the sense of what is valuable to us. She rules Taurus. This is what is valuable in the material world around us. And so Venus is much more interested in satisfying her senses. That's why she's so sensitive. She wants to satisfy her senses. She wants to feel good. She wants to taste good things. She wants to hear beautiful music. She wants to um, feel good fabric. She wants to, eat good food, drink good drinks. She wants to be around the people that make her feel good, and who she loves. Beautiful, right? The goddess of love. She is beautiful. She's also very envious and possessive. That's the other thing about it. And she pulls to her what she wants without really doing much to act on it, right? She uses her charm and her beauty to bring to her what she wants. Now, when we're talking about the south node and the north node of our moon, this is very karmic, talking about our karmic destiny, where we are headed in order to evolve, and the south node being our karmic history and what we've mastered, but it is very much where we are heading away from. Well, Venus in Sagittarius, we are talking about alchemy of our relationships, understanding of our relationships, and what we value. And we are connecting with, when Venus is connecting with the south node like this is connecting with where we have been. And this particular degree is about being able to, how do I say this, being able to plan for the future, right? And foresighted use of natural resources to plan for the future, and to make sure that everything is supplied, and all of our resources are taken care of. All right. And it suggests action, right? Sagittarius is a fire sign. There's action associated with it, which is something Venus doesn't really want to engage in at all. She doesn't want to be engaged in action. She wants to attract it to her, what she needs. So this is suggesting that quiet and relaxation will have to be sacrificed so that you can do the work, in order to meet the problems that are anticipated in the future. And it stresses the value of planning for the future, and assuring supply. This is still based off our collective values and a belief system about what is to come. Now, with Venus here, we can use this as momentum to move forward, right? Conjunctions are pretty quick. They come together and they just as easily separate, and the energy comes and releases and then dissipates. If we can see it this way and not get caught at the tail of the dragon, thinking that this is the direction we need to be heading, where it's in fact where we're heading away from, then we can use this as momentum, that we can plan for the future. We can see that we can use our foresight. We can assure a supply of what we need. And Venus absolutely wants to be supplied. She wants all of her needs met. She wants to be comfortable and safe. This is about what she values in her relationships. We want to assure all of these things. And so the tail of the dragon is moving back and forth. It's providing momentum in order to move forward. If we can see this for what that is and not get caught up in it, this can be very powerful to propel us, to actually propel us forward. But if we, and where is forward? Forward is in new ideas. It is in the collection of a multitude of ideas, new thought forms, new data, new information, and anything that we want to engage with is available to us. This is where we are headed. If we get caught up in how do I say this? If we get caught up in the doom and gloom and the potential for absolutely needing to prepare for hardship and get stuck there, then this is where Venus can really trap herself, right? Because she's not moving forward. She's not actually moving towards these new ideas when it comes to our value system, right? Because that's really what Venus represents, our value system individually, and what appeals to our senses, where Sagittarius is our collective value system. If we get caught up in the collective value system and assuring and future planning for the collective, not realizing that this is just, we've already done this, right? We've been here already. I can't help but feel like that this particular aspect is very much kind of fear mongering in some ways, and taking advantage of people's need to feel safe and secure. That's what Venus represents, and very can be possessive in order to make sure that all of her needs met. And if she is focused on the fact that there is going to be that we need to assure a supply of something for the future, she will act out, and she does not care necessarily. She's the goddess of love and she's beautiful, but she also is very jealous and envious and possessive, and will she'll throw you right under the bus. She will. I hate to say it, and it's not because she's inherently bad or selfish, but that's the Empress energy on the dark side. Is it's completely selfish and wants to just be gratified. And so there's a tendency to want to gratify that aspect of us by focusing on assuring a supply based off our collective values and belief systems that were already in place. And we need to head towards a place where we are developing new belief systems, engaging in new ideas, realizing that everything that we need is already in front of us. It's just a matter of taking it off the buffet, right? And taking it out of the buffet bar and putting it on our plate. But if Venus is afraid of losing something, then she will not act in her highest good. And this is what I struggle with, because Venus, I don't want to give Venus a bad rap because she is the goddess of love, but there is a dark side here, and being so close to the south node like this, we could really easily find ourselves slipping off the end of this dragon and holding on to the tail for dear life, not realizing that had we just face the direction we are headed, we wouldn't be struggling to assure a supply for some future event. So this is all for New Year's Eve. I know that I've just spoke a lot. This is really important that we individually are very stabilized and rooted in who we are and where we belong and where we've planted that flag. Um, Patriotism is a big part of Cancer in the fourth house. The United States is a Cancer sun. Like, there is something to be said for having this identity and loyalty to something. And so, whatever that is for you, this moon cycle, especially the full moon, has shown us where that is for us. And hopefully, we have planted those roots strongly, because it is going to be where we stay when we blossom, at least emotionally and intuitively, because that's what happens during the Leo part of the cycles. The flower starts to blossom for pollination, right? We express ourselves, we show ourselves, we are our full selves, and that lion energy and that pride energy is going to come out big time over New Year's. And so that's something to really look forward to. And I think that there can be some incredible breakthroughs around where we develop our victim identity and who or what imposes those values upon us. I think we're gonna have some realizations and some breakthroughs around that on New Year's Eve. And what a great way to ring in the new year, having these realizations, as long as we don't get caught in the doom and gloom of what could happen and get caught in feeling like we're going to lose something, because that is the dark side of Venus. Like I said, she's jealous and she's possessive, and it's out of fear. It's out of fear of losing her position. And for us, it's the same thing, what we value. So that's a lot of information. I'm just going to stop now. Let me know if you are interested in a reading. Everything you need is in the description box below. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. Those things really help the channel. And if you are interested in reading, you can go to the website and book the services right through catalystenergies.net. I won't be taking any more bookings until probably around the 11th. So this is a good time to start getting on the schedule. And I'm offering a discount right now on my beginner starseed package. It's my most popular package. You get a full natal chart reading, and then we do a starseed reading as well. And it's just mind blowing. So you can check out the testimonials about that on the website, because people have had some really incredible things to say about this work. And I really, really enjoy having these one-on-ones with people. So thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care of yourselves. Have a great New Year's Eve. Stay safe, and not in the way that we have been staying safe. Literally, just stay safe, have fun and enjoy yourselves. And I'll see you in 2021. Bye.